I'd like to call this meeting to order. Ralph Reese, would you do the flag salute, please? Please remain standing. Travis Mickle, could you do the invocation, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, just thank you so much for your blessings, for the ways that you continually reach down and touch our lives and bless us. And we just ask for your love and mercy and grace on all those that may be hurt or sick, for all the business owners, for all the employees. Please help us as an organization that we will do what is right and work hard to make sure that we keep our people safe. And just thank you so much for the incredible love that you've shown us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Travis. I'd like to call on Chris Reardon for the roll call. One second, technical difficulties. That's what happened when you ditch paper, right? And while Chris is doing that, I just want to let you guys know that we started a little bit later today only because of lunch. It's very difficult for everybody to try to get lunch in an hour, so I just wanted to make sure everybody was in here so we weren't all roaming in. So I appreciate your patience on that.
Sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulty in my roll call thing. I'm going to actually call out the districts, and please tell me who's there. Bay Area District? Okay, Allen Kennedy. Big Valley? Vince, who else? Okay. Okay, Ashley Freeman. Okay, Central Coast? Okay. Central Valley? Leslie, anybody else? Diablo Valley? Los Angeles South Bay? Okay, thank you guys. Mid-Cal? Orange County? Okay. San Bernardino Riverside? Okay. Thank you. San Diego? Well, that's a good turnout. That is an awesome turnout. Thank you, San Diego. San Fernando Valley. Okay, 3 people, thanks. San Gabriel. Thanks, Robert and Joel. Shasta. Okay, thanks, Jackie. Southern District. Okay, thank you, Sean. Ventura. Didn't know if anyone from Ventura here or not. And Vintage Coastal. Thanks, Doug. Billy, but we'll grab you later. Anyone, who did I miss? Jan Thrasher? Yeah, I saw John earlier. Okay. Anybody else? Thanks for your patience.
Past presidents.
Let me ask for past presidents. Mike Bullard. I know Mike McKenzie. Lee Whitmore. Who else am I missing? Pardon me? Alan Kennedy. Bobby Gordon. Travis Swope. Tom Grafton. Billy Gaither. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you very much. Let me get right into the executive committee meeting. Oh, yep, let's go again.
I'd like to call up our diamond sponsor, Douglas Products. Mr. Wes Otani, please.
Thanks, Dean, for the opportunity to share. And one of the exciting things this year is it's been 2 years we're actually having an expo. So I think this is kind of exciting to kind of kick it off, to having everyone here. It's just one of the things, coming from outside the state of California, looking at this association. You guys have an amazing association and how it supports the industry, because this industry is an amazing industry from a standpoint how it supports the community, people's families, people's livelihood. I think a lot of people take that for granted. So one of the things that Douglas Products is looking at and doing, we're going to be rolling this out next year, not next year, but next month, is we're working on like an educational program for like inspectors and termite inspectors, technicians, to kind of really educate homeowners on how and what fumigation is about. So kind of be looking out for that, because we truly believe that educating the consumer on what we do is like supporting the industry. And if you kind of want to find out more, there's Matt or Jason, kind of hook up with them, and we're looking forward to working with more people within the industry besides just the fumigators. Thank you. Yeah.
On behalf of PCOC, we'd like to thank you for your support.
That's fine. Thank you.
Executive committee report. All members were there except Sean Bradley, not present. Approval of the minutes were made by Dave Watkins, seconded by Greg Augustine. President's remarks. Dean welcomed everyone to Disneyland, sort of gave an overview of his last 12 months. Been very, very busy. Very proud of the accomplishments this year, especially with the challenges with COVID and everything else. Also proud of the revitalization of our districts. We've made huge strides as well. So we had great discussions about where our districts are today, made great progress legislatively, introduced our first legislative bill in some time, which is our workers' comp bill that we'll talk about later. Also, very pleased hiring Grassroots Lab that's helping us with communication and sort of put a different spin on the message in our industry. Gene talked about his amazing journey in the executive committee and his background and his first week and started in Reardon. So had a terrific year and was very, very, very proud of being your president this last year. Treasurer's report, we went through the treasurer's report, we went through all the other subsidiary financial reports as well. Executive Vice President's remarks got into, I talked a little bit about Dean and I's trips over the last year, which is interesting. It's always interesting with a president every year. Talked legislative about our bills, 2542, our extension bill for the structural fumigation enforcement program. As I said, workers' comp bill, and also our neo-NIC bill, AB 2146, that we'll be talking about later. Talked about our building. I'll be talking about the building in my minutes, but talked about kind of the status of our building as well. Then also talked about, and I'll talk about this as well, about what a survey that I'll be sending out sometime this summer to our membership. So talked about our membership update, and for those of you who might not remember, I think when Dean first started off this year, we were about 250 membership companies under where we were, and as you look at our membership report, we made real strides in sort of crawling back and reducing those numbers by a long way, so very proud of that. We talked a little bit about this event, what we're going to do, what this event look like in the future as well. We talked about Tri-Valley Golf Tournament coming up. Executive Committee was debriefed on our fumigation demonstration with the new DPR Director that we did in April. And finally, we talked about how do we sort of build on our strategic plan that we did about 3 years ago. So we completed in roughly about 3 hours and 20 minutes. That concludes the Executive Committee report.
Thank you, Chris. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? So can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Ralph Reese first, second? Okay, thank you. Chris. Thank you. Okay, so it's time for my remarks, the last one. Sorry, Mike. Vote? Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. That's crazy up here today. Can I get an approval, a vote to approve the minutes, please? Everybody say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thanks, Mike, for having my back. So this is my last meeting, and I want to welcome everybody to Disneyland. It's actually in Disneyland this year and not my backyard. Last year we had a great time in my backyard, zooming me in, and we had some weird weather and some good food, and my family and friends were there, but it was pretty fun. But I'm glad to be back in our regular format. It's been a pretty busy year for me and for Chris. We were able to visit 13 districts this year. I attended a couple of events as well, including Pest Ed, Pest World, DC Ledge Days, and my favorite event of the year, Mike, was the NHRA Race Day. That was a good time. If you would have told me back in June that we would have done all these activities, visited all these districts and these events live and in person, I would have been very skeptical, but we did it. And I'm very proud of the accomplishments that our association has accomplished this year. First and foremost, getting through COVID. You know, Mike's year was shortened by COVID. Poor Tom didn't even have a year. I feel so bad for him on that. But I think we all came out stronger and more galvanized as an industry and as an association. I'm also proud of the revitalization of our districts. Back in June, we had a handful of districts that hadn't met probably in over a year, like Central Valley, Mid-Cal, Southern Valley. And we also had some districts that didn't have very good numbers due to lack of leadership or leadership burnout, so I call it. You know, when a leader's in there for 5 or 10 years at that helm, you tend to get burnout. And so I was very proud of the fact that going around the districts as I traveled, we had some strong districts for the most part. You know, Central Valley came back 65 strong in their first meeting. Southern Valley, Sean, he took the helm of that one, and I think that meeting we had about 35, which was awesome. And I think a lot of that has to do with our district support committee. Tom started our district support committee last year, and I continued it on this year. And because of that committee, I believe we've been able to put key people in the right spots. We've been able to relieve those people who have been there for 5 or 10 years in their burnout stage. So, but there's a lot of work to be done, and I hope this committee continues. I hope you continue to meet with your chairs, have them voice their concerns, and share ideas with them moving forward. We made great progress this year, I believe, legislatively. We stopped the Coastal Commission's threat on preemption in Ventura. I strongly believe that the letter we wrote, in fact, backing up, when this first came about, I looked at Chris and I said, Chris, we need to do something about this. I said, I'm tired of sitting back and taking it. I think we need to fire a letter across the bow and let them know they can't do this. So we got with our lawyer, Dale Stern. He crafted a letter, and I truly believe that the Ventura County Board of Supervisors read that letter, and it got to them, and they realized what they were doing and what they couldn't do. We've also, this year, we sponsored our first bill. That was AB 1064 to the legislature. That's the bill that, the workers' compensation bill, where you're not going to be able to renew, or you're not going to be able to get a structural pest control license without workers' comp insurance. I'm most proud, though, of our hiring of Grassroots Lab, a public relations firm, to tell our story. You guys look around the room. As you came in, you saw the BR codes. You're going to see a lot of them tomorrow. That's our campaign. That's our first campaign of this fight, and it's Rats of California. So I encourage you guys to get on it. Your likes, you comment, and get this thing really rolling. I believe this also puts us in a whole different arena politically. I think with the fights that are coming up with the neonics that Chris is going to talk about, this has just begun, and I think this is a great start. So I'm very, very proud of the fact that we have Grassroots Lab aboard. You know, being on the executive committee has been an amazing journey. I made some long-lasting friends. I met people I don't think I would have met. I've made connections that I believe were directly related to me being on the executive committee. And I want to thank Mike Bullard for making me a member of this fraternity. And that's exactly what it is a fraternity. I was reflecting last week on my whole year as president, and it was very humbling as I look out in this room and as I read down the list of past presidents to be on that list. You know, I'm in rare company, I'll tell you, and I think since its inception, I think it was back in the 40s when it first started, I looked and I counted, I'm the 80th past president, which I'm very proud of. Thank you. And I want to thank all of those who helped get me here. And my family, you know, my daughter and my wife are in Disneyland right now having a great time. We're in here working. But it took a good toll on them this year. I traveled a lot and they miss me, but they know it was well worth it. I also want to thank the leaders before me. I learned a lot from all of you guys. I want to thank Chris for his leadership. It was great to get to know him as we were going to and from the airport and to and from district meetings and, you know, all the way down the Central Coast and back. You know, one of our trips, I'll share with you real quick, I came into the airport in Sacramento about late in the afternoon on a Tuesday, and my flight was late, and I wanted to be able to get to my hotel room to change before we went to the meeting, and I ended up having to change at the PCOC office men's bathroom. From there, we went to Stockton to the Mid-Cal meeting, had a really good steak dinner, came back, checked into my room, got up bright and early, headed out to Reardon to the Shasta lunch meeting, where we did that meeting. We took a tour of Mike's facility, which was awesome. Got back in the car and drove all the way back down to Sacramento. Got up the next morning, not so early. We left about mid-morning to Bakersfield. If you guys don't know how far it is from Sacramento to Bakersfield, it's a little over 4 hours plus. And then as crazy as we were, we finished the meeting about 8 o'clock, jumped in the car and drove back to Sacramento. So I got in my room about 2:30 or 12:30 that night, and I never want to do that again. I don't think Chris does either. I also want to thank our amazing staff. Sarah, who puts these events on all year long, and Christy, who's working. And Christy, who we hired on as our membership director, who's, you've heard the numbers coming up from December of 200 some, 250 back up to 70 that we've gained back. She's worked really hard on that, and I'm hoping, and I know that in the future she's going to continue to work hard in that role. I want to thank everybody up here on my executive committee. I want to thank you guys for your commitment, for your support this year with me. You guys are all in amazing hands with this group up here. And I can't wait. Next year I can sit right down there with Tom and not worry about a thing. I want to thank this association for trusting me to lead. It has been an honor and a pleasure to be your president. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon officially. As Dean said, I think it's been an interesting year. Put yourself in our place at PCOC. We've had 2 years of COVID. When you talk about the word uncertainty, they should probably include PCOC because it's hard to plan, it's hard to do things when you can't meet, we don't see you in person. Sarah had to move on a dime to do virtual events. Chris, are we going to do events? Are we not going to do events? And at the end of the day, with the exception of, as Dean said, with the exception of the Termite Academy, we did every single event in person. So I wanted to thank all of you for participating as well. It wasn't easy because we didn't have our usual numbers, but we saw people show up. We saw people participate, and that's a good thing. So I wanted to thank all of you as well. District chairs in the room, stand up. District chairs, current district chairs, stand up. Folks, I don't think we always acknowledge the district chairs who are sort of the heart of our association. Let's give them a hand. Mike McKenzie will talk about this. We have our Leadership Academy coming up, but we have made some tremendous inroads, and I just think we probably take for granted the people that do all the heavy lifting for us every year, these district chairs and people that volunteer, and many I see around the room have chaired as well. So I just want you to know that we appreciate all you do. I know you got enough stuff in your life going on. You got a regular job, and you know we pay you a lot of money to do that too, kiddingly. But we really appreciate what you do for our association. For those of you who've heard me as I travel the state, it's where the rubber hits the road, okay, in the districts. It's where the rubber hits the road. So we've learned a lot over the last 5-6 years since I've been around, and it is great to see sort of this reinvigoration of our districts. And kudos to my friend Tom Graston and Dean for sort of, my friend Dave Hendricks, who's also sort of led this charge. We're not going to stop, folks, until we get our districts squared away. We still have some issues to work through and some districts to sort of help reinvigorate them in the future. But I wanted to at least acknowledge our district chairs and what you do for us. We talked, for those of you who are on our legislative committee this morning, and I think in general Pest, we've had a busy legislative year. I'm going to leave it to my friend Darren Van Steenwyk to talk about greater specificity, but I would say this. There's one issue, if I'm going to leave with you today, on the legislative side that troubles us the most. Forget about, the neonic bill is just one, it's sort of a symptom of our issue, but the neonic bill tells us one thing that's really important that you all should be aware of. And by the way, this is on the heels of AB 1788. If we don't start, fighting this issue of the legislature now actively engaging in activity related to the Department of Pesticide Regulation. Now, DPR, by the way, has sales and use authority over all pesticides in California, okay? They have a program, okay, that is, I don't know what Ken's here, and he'd probably chuckle at me. I don't know what the budget is now, but let's say it's $100 million. California's invested a lot of money in the Department of Pesticide Regulation. They have professional people, professional scientists, okay? They have a licensing program. They have people that do this for a living. Okay, they're sort of the leading experts, not only in this country, in the world. Why in the hell are we letting the legislature, okay, decide our fate. So we're working with a coalition, our friends in agriculture and some other folks as well. We have to sort of stand up and say, let DPR do their job, do their work. We depend on them, okay? Okay, and if left to their own device, in my view, okay, DPR oftentimes gets it right, okay? So one of our discussions, and Dominic knows this as well, is we want to make sure that, if we're going to the governor's offices and we're doing the things, I understand in a committee meeting yesterday, the discussion was, why are you engaged in this when DPR is already doing this, okay? Why are they already doing this? So for us, okay, I think this fight's not going to stop. That's why I think 2164 needs to be, hopefully this will be stopped in Senate appropriations. But as I sort of look off in the future, if for some reason the governor was to pass this bill, what comes next? What comes next, okay, for our industry, okay? So by the way, my friends in agriculture, okay, know this as well, okay, this sort of coalition of folks. So we are actively engaging on this whole issue of DPR and their authority, okay? Let the experts do their job, do their work, okay? Benefits all of us, okay? And my friends in the legislature, I'm not going to pick on them, but they have no idea about the pesticide program in California. So let's let the pros do the work. The other issue I want to talk about briefly is our building. The last time, folks, you and I met, you ultimately gave us authority if someone was going to purchase our building and our property, but it had to be for $1.2 million, if you recall. Well, we've had subsequent offers since we last talked. None of them are even approaching the $1.2 million. I think the highest value we got is about $939,000. That $1.2 million was probably the top of the top because many might recall it was a cannabis company. We had a discussion about cannabis and the cannabis company that was looking. And of course, that's a sort of unique industry. There is the value of the building, the value of the property, at least what I'm told by Colliers, who's our real estate expert and who's been helping us with the building, is somewhere between, $900,000 and $950,000, okay? So I wanted to make you aware that, of course, we couldn't take that offer because if we wanted to sell the building and the property because it didn't meet the expectations of this board in terms of the guidance they gave me. We are still, I actually asked Colliers to actually put our building for sale, see what we would get in terms of put the property up for sale. So we still are working through this issue. We've had some people come look at it. But I don't believe, and I'll be candid with this board, I don't believe, unless we get another cannabis company, another company that wishes to exceed sort of the value of the building and the property, I don't think we're going to get anyone to offer us $1.2 million, okay, for the sale of our building and our property. Probably somewhere between 900 and 950, it's probably more reasonable. So I wanted to make you aware of that in terms of there's no question for us, unless someone, and I'll open this up to questions too, but unless someone wants to sort of revisit this issue, it's going to be hard to sell that building for $1.2 million, and I don't know how much longer, if we get a decent offer, what I call reasonable, it's based on the value of the property today, what this association wishes to do and what guidance you want to give me for the building. So we've had someone just recently come in. Literally, I just talked to our folks today. They're going to present me an offer to lease the building. He doesn't think it's, I haven't seen the numbers yet, but he's not sure it's, going to be satisfactory for us. As I said, I'll wait and look at it before I comment, but I at least want this board to understand the reason we're not going to move that building for $1.2 million. Okay, at least right now, unless, as I said, we get another extraordinary industry or person that wants to purchase that property. So, questions on that? Yes, sir.
What happened to the cannabis company that originally talked to you guys?
Well, it's two issues. We have a process we have to work by here in terms of getting board approval, so they didn't really want to wait for the board approval. And I think upon second thought, he wanted a location that was more in greater Sacramento and sort of more eyes seeing it versus West Sac. So I know my understanding, they're still going through the process of a property. It's sort of all out, and I don't know how familiar with Sacramento, but, sort of out like in V Street, U Street, and 23rd, 24th, something like that. So, but my understanding they are negotiating with the city of Sacramento. As you know, that could take somewhere between 12 months and 24 months to sort of negotiate that final agreement. But that's candidly, that's sort of all I know about them. Sue? I don't have it with me, but yeah, we actually have a, they posted on our property the sale of our building, and I could send you that information. You're welcome. Other questions? So is it the view of this board that we still maintain the purchase of that property at 1.2 million? Okay. Mike? Well, I think, I don't want to speak for my whole executive. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. I think we wanted to get some guidance from the board, Mike. I think that's why I'm here talking about it, because I think the committee understands that the current motion made for 1.2 million isn't probably reasonable. If there was a motion based on the current value of the property to purchase the building, is probably the direction I think this could be. I hope I'm speaking for everybody, the committee would support.
So what you're saying is, it's still your belief that selling the building is the best move for our association?
I would say, and again, I don't want to speak for my whole executive committee, but and they're welcome to speak as well. But I think as we sit here today, we still think it's reasonable to sell the building if in fact we got a reasonably fair priced offer on the building.
Well, hearing that, I'm going to need a new motion, or the maker of the original motion is not here, but I would make a new motion to sell the building at market value.
Okay. A second?
I'll second that.
Second, discussion? Billy?
Thinking ahead, the building sells, have any plans been made for relocation?
Yes, but Vince and I have had numerous discussions with a location roughly on between 15th and 16th and J Street. And it would be a much smaller office than we currently are now. Correct. And I know that the owner of the building is waiting to hear from us. So,
Still expecting the generous lease terms that the man was offering?
yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but Sacramento, because of everything going on downtown, there's still a lot of property available in downtown Sacramento. Any other comments? Yes, Tom?
I just want to add that over the past few years, we've done so much repair. We've invested a lot of time, we've invested a lot of money in this building, and there's still so much more left to do. I would love to see us take advantage of the opportunity we have right now at market value, because, and the open window that we have to actually move our operation into, closer to the capital, as much into the capital as possible. So, I think market value is great, and leave it up to the executive committee to make a final.
Okay. Alan?
What's so bad if you don't sell the building?
I don't think there's anything bad if we don't sell it. I think we're looking at something that's probably, Alan, this is just me speaking, but we have 4,200 square feet or roughly 4,400 square feet that we don't, there's only 3 of us in that office now. We have property that we, if you, as you know, we've not utilized on the side that we pay taxes on. And I think we can, you know, for me personally, I think it makes some sense to be closer to the Capitol. That's where we do our business, between the Capitol and DPR and Structural Pest Control Board. And I think, you know, I think now if we invest in, you know, we're going to invest our money wisely in terms of this, how we proceed forward. I think long-term, with smaller space, close to the Capitol, I think it could be beneficial. Matter of fact, I know it will be beneficial for this association. Lee?
You know, when this topic came up, I spoke against it. You know, I see having equity ownership of property as a long-term, benefit for our association. I know right now, you know, the rents in Sacramento are, favorable, but I can just see a decade from now, us being priced out in the market, we're downtown. And, at that point, I can envision us regretting, transferring the building. When we had this discussion initially, I thought it was brought before this board to determine that, that we would, look to lease the property or retain it. And then the next board meeting, which I, had different people at it, that motion, changed. I guess we had to get off of that. Made sense, at that point. It sounds like that offer is not coming to fruition. I don't know, maybe we vote, it seems like we're gonna vote on this thing until we get it to where, where we're selling it's kind of the way it feels.
Well, can I respond? Because one of the reasons I'm here today is either, my view is if we don't want to proceed forward, then we just stop. Okay, you give me guidance today, we just stop. Because candidly, we're spinning our wheels and then, I want a definitive decision from the board. Either we proceed or we stop.
I like the idea of restoring, the location, if we can lease the building, that where it covers our expenses. What is the downside of that? That's kind of what Alan was saying, That way, in my opinion, it seems like that's the best of both worlds, because it gives us the opportunity to get a taste of what it is to be downtown and do our thing there, while not, committing a financial move that is irrevocable, right? So later on, if we changed our mind, we could take our tenant out and move back, to where we were at. And if we're not losing money by doing that, I don't see an immediate need for this association to have $900,000 in the bank. Have we done that 6 months ago? We got $750,000 in the bank, right? So I would just, voice my support of the initial decision, which was, to allow you all to move wherever you want and try to lease the building and cover the costs of that. Thank you.
Okay. John?
I guess, Chris, the new motion doesn't really set a dollar amount, say market value.
Yeah.
Market value is what somebody is willing to pay for it.
Correct.
So it seemed to me, and this is a decision for the executive committee and board of directors, is do they have a dollar amount? You said somewhere between 9 and maybe 950, but if somebody came and offered 850 or 800, is that market value? Would you take that? So that's my only question with
Yeah.
the ambiguity of the motion itself.
I think the way I read the motion, Mike, tell me, we're going to do what we think is the most beneficial financially for PCOC. And based, John, that we've gotten an offer for $939,000 or whatever it is, I sure don't want to go lower than that.
I agree with John. I don't like the ambiguity of the market value. If someone comes along and what they offer and what you get, if you got an offer for $930, then I think the offer of making the motion ought to change and make a determinate figure as to what we feel the value of that building is. And if we don't think the value that we
Pardon me?
I think it'd be good to have a range, you know, you mentioned 9 to 9:50.
You want to put that in the motion or amend, Mike?
I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I withdraw my second, if that's the case.
With-
Real quick, I just think it's difficult for Chris in a situation where you get a good offer, you know, you can't talk, you know, for instance, as a homeowner, you're buying a house, you can't talk to your wife and look at the market. But what happens is we meet every 3 months. So he gets an offer, it sounds great, we vote on it like the 1.2. Great, we'll do that. Well, by the time we get back to these people with a 1.2, they're like, we've moved on. So I don't know, respectfully with everybody in here, I just think that, I think you need to trust the executive committee with that, with market value, and know that they're not gonna sell you out cheap, and that they're gonna probably, I'm no longer on the executive committee, so I'm not speaking for myself, probably that's why I'm speaking. But I mean, you got a sharp group of people up here. I mean, my position is, you give them the authority to determine whether the market value is worth it or not. It's kind of why we're here. It's just my 2 cents.
We've been pretty judicious about sort of how we're proceeding on this issue, and I think we've tried to, been very clear with our real estate advisor on this. I think, you know, if anything, he's probably frustrated with us because we continue to push in terms of the value of that building the best we possibly can. 939, by everyone I've talked to, the value of the properties in those areas, when you look at comps in and around our area, candidly, folks, they're a lot less than 939 in our area, okay? So not a lot less, but they're probably in the mid-800s, based on what I've been told by our real estate advisors. So I think we've been, as I said, I think we've been careful about not taking bites out of apples that, you know, that don't make any sense to us. So, and as you know, we've been very careful. We haven't had a lot of great offers, to Lee's point, about folks that want to lease the building. We haven't really had those yet. If in fact we had one, I think we would, you know, at least begin discussions on that yet. But, you know, the question for us is going to be, you know, how long do we continue to do this? So. Yes. Yep. Yep. We've advertised this lease for over a year now. You want to come up?
Quite candidly, when this first came up, I was opposed to it. I felt, you know, I'm a bit of an old guy and a bit of a traditionalist, and slow to change, I think. And I think some of the topics that Lee raises hit me in the gut, and I even think about what it took to build it and create it. But it really sits there empty. I've talked a lot to Chris about the value of being in what you might call the political ecosystem of being downtown, and I think that's spot on. I don't think I quite understood how important that is, but in a variety of discussions, Chris, Dom, and others, it feels it is important for our association to be downtown. The choice, and I think maybe it even started in the pandemic or whatever, COVID, because as a means of cash flow, that demand is no longer with us. This way of sort of rescuing the association. I think we started, getting a little long-winded, excuse me, but we started by thinking maybe we could get a mortgage on the building to tide us over. Based on the financial structure of our organization, that's not possible. So then it came up to sell it. I was against it, but I've given it a lot of thought, and the motion which it's interesting it's taken us this long, we haven't been able to implement it, was to lease it, sort of get the best of both worlds, own it, lease it, and move downtown. Well, as Chris said, it's been hard to find a lease. And so Jackie, to answer your question, I've come 180 degrees and fully in favor of selling it. I think we could set the money aside in a reserve account or whatever, and it could earn interest in the same way that the building would earn rent. I think the carrying cost of a portfolio of marketable securities would be far less than the carrying cost of a building that needs roofs and lawnmowers and property taxes and broken air conditioners and vacancies when the tenant moves out. So I've come a long ways, but I am frankly fully in favor of selling it. I think the lease part is going to be challenging to execute around, and it turns Chris into a landlord amongst other things. Certainly this association is supported and driven by committees, and Vince and whoever his successor might be could be fully in charge of leasing, but it's still somebody's job. And it takes away from our core missions of building our members' businesses, staying focused on things politically. Yesterday, by coincidence, I happened to golf with John Warden, our new CPA, who's doing a tremendous job for us. John, would I be putting you on the spot to ask you for your professional opinion on this, much as you might have shared with me in the golf cart yesterday? Do you have a few seconds to do that? You can come up to the microphone here. Sure.
So when Greg asked me about it, I said, don't think about the fact that you own the property now. Think if you didn't own it, would you buy that property right now? Would you lease it? Would you want to be there? And the property seems to be not suited well for the current staff and kind of what their purpose is. It seems like being downtown would be a better environment for them. I think that the property has a lot of emotional attachments, but again, I think if you step back and you think about if you had the opportunity to buy it now, would you buy that? Or would you prefer to utilize those funds in a different way? So those are just my thoughts on it.
Can you speak to what you said about being a landlord and leasing it?
Yeah, I mean, as an accountant and a CPA, I deal with a lot of different clients, a lot of different people that have real estate, and it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, there are constantly issues and challenges and resources that need to be deployed for rentals. So to think that a lease will be without its consequences is probably not an accurate expectation. Most leases are always going to have some sort of maintenance issues. Obviously, you have the property taxes, the insurance. In that area, I don't know it that well, although I do live in Sacramento. I would be very concerned of vacancies. I mean, you're in it now, so there's constantly somebody kind of in and out of that building. But if you had a tenant and that tenant moved out and then you had to find somebody, you could have a prolonged period of vacancy. And if you did, you would probably have vagrants living in that property to some extent. And you would, without question, have vandalism. Is just my opinion. I don't know. I'm not an expert at it, but there's a lot of risk with having that building as an asset, income producing asset would be my opinion.
Thank you, John. And Jackie, to finish that thought, at least in terms of how I think, and also to tie it into what Lee Whitmore said, yes, I understand it's an asset. Yes, I understand it appreciates. Yes, I understand that it has potential to earn income. I think as an association, we could have that money, that asset invested in a portfolio with marketable securities, properly balanced between equity investments and debt or income investments could build a return. I think we'd have to put safeguards around it so it was nearly as hard to touch as a piece of real estate. I think we can do that as an association, and it would just be far easier to manage, far fewer headaches. It'd be the responsibility of a registered investment advisor, much like we have a registered investment advisor for PCOC, and I think now for the scholarship fund. So I echo in sort of a different way Lee's concerns for the investment value and the growth of it. I just think marketable securities would be a better choice than a single piece of real estate in West Sacramento. One of the principles of a portfolio, if any of you do manage portfolios or have portfolios, is diversity. And having one piece of real estate in West Sacramento is the antithesis or the opposite of diversity. And so to the extent that I've understood money and managed money and even done poorly at managing money at times, diversity is important. And I think also in managing this team, less to do and giving us the ability to focus on what we do need to do might be better than being landlords. You asked, Jackie, you got the answer. Thank you.
Vince?
Okay, so we've passed this out for numerous meetings.
Yep, yep.
We're in the last 3 or 4 board of directors meetings.
Yep.
I've spent countless hours downtown searching for buildings and places that we could rent. The fact that we have to come back and get authorization, sometimes we'll lose those buildings. So at this point, as far as maintenance on the building, I've been the one going down there and looking at it, blowing the roof and doing all kinds of things for the building. There is a lot of problems with that building. We've got some dry rot issues. And if we get some top dollar for it right now, in the current market, it's pretty high for that area. And we're getting bids over what the building appraised for. So at this point, I'd like to make a new motion that we sell the building for no less than the $850 to $1 million and leave it up to the executive board to make that decision.
Second? Who was the second? No, I asked for a second. Steve? From, yeah, San Bernardino Riverside. Oh, San Diego, I'm sorry. San Diego. We have a second. That was a second. Discussion?
You know, we're concerned about Chris being downtown. Is the next executive vice president we hire going to be worried about Nick being downtown? And of all the executive committee, how many of you actually own your own buildings?
Yeah.
Not personally.
Well,
Our company does, I don't personally.
it was a,
No.
no, he wanted to, I think Jim asked the question, how many up here in the executive committee own their own building? Okay?
Yeah, I don't know why the executive committee is making all these decisions. When they don't even own their buildings.
Well, Jim, we're not. Okay? We did, actually. We did have a committee to study it, that we still talk to, okay? But remember, that's why I'm here today, Jim. The executive committee isn't making this decision. We've come to seek the board's guidance.
And what's your plan? How long do you plan to stay?
If you didn't hear the question, how long am I plan on staying? Jim, do you have a time frame?
I'm like putting him on spot.
Jim, you know, as I said, you know, every day's a new day, okay? That's how I'd respond to you. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Chris, can I get the last name of Steve?
Steve, what's your last name? Tinksey.
Can you spell it, please? Tankley. Perfect, thank you.
So folks, there's been a motion. There's been a second. Any comments before I call for the vote?
Is the building paid for,
Yes.
and would we be buying or renting downtown?
We'd be leasing.
Okay. Have you factored, I'm sorry, have you factored in the issues that are going on with capital with respect to all the asbestos abatement, and relocation of the Senate Assembly?
Yes.
That's going to go on for a while.
3 years. Yep. By the way, that's why rates are pretty darn good downtown. Mike, I'm sorry, Mike.
I just want to make a few observations. We started at 1.2, we're down to 850. Right? Staying in the building caused us no harm. That was stated today. As we get to the treasurer's report, you're going to see we're financially stable. And the reason this started was just around my presidency, and it was because of her, because of the instability. And so that being said, I just want everybody to kind of understand where this all came from and weigh that into our decision that we're about to make. But it was a lot of uncertainty where this was born. And that uncertainty has changed significantly. And we've come back stronger and better than we did. We're not all right. We're moving in the right direction. I want to keep that in front of us.
No, I appreciate those comments. They're accurate. First, second. Vince, would you make that motion again? Just repeat it before I call for a vote.
You know, the motion on the table is to sell the building for $850 to $1 million, and that's it, or above or higher.
Okay. No less than 850.
One last question I have. So that motion gives the authority to the executive committee and you to proceed without coming back for correction?
Correct. Yep, correct. Call for the vote. Those who are in favor of what the motion that Vince made, raise your hand. That's. Yeah, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 22. 32. Okay. 32? Yeah. 35? Okay. Those who oppose the motion? Motion passes. Let me, the final thing that I wanted to mention today and brief you on is something that Dean talked about and something that we're very proud of for those of you who are in our legislative committee, the PR committee today. Max Perry, are you here to talk a little bit about kind of where we are as it relates to our communications plan, some exciting things going on, and I would appreciate, I don't know if you want to come up or you want to sit there, whatever makes some sense, to sort of brief the board on sort of where we are and what we're doing on our communications plan. So excited about it, and there are a lot of good things going on. That'll end my comments. I'm going to introduce Max, but that'll end my comments today.
I'm here to request the purchase of a new building, so this might take a while. Too soon. Too soon. Way too soon. Way too soon. No, thanks, Chris. I think we talked about this a few times now at a couple of board meetings, and these guys have done a great job speaking about it as well. So very excited about it. The campaign's been going pretty well so far. We want to encourage the engagement of the association as much as we can, so we'd like to give a little bit of an update. But before I do so, I want to introduce the floating head on the screen here. Mike, can you hear me back there? He's getting
It's
small.
really difficult, but yeah, I can hear you.
There it is. Okay. Sorry, we've had some technical last-second changes here, and Sarah's done a great job at accommodating. But Mike's been working on this campaign with us as well, as far as I'm concerned. Mike Madrid's the premier political consultant and communications director in the state of California. We've worked with him extensively in projects in the past, so very excited to have him on board on this contract. But essentially, I think you guys have heard this before, but creating a media campaign, Rats of California, to highlight the growing problem of rat populations across the state and stress the public health risks and the business impacts that come with limiting pest control. So, whether it's AB 1788 or Ventura County decisions, we've seen this precipitous change of, the viewpoint of what pest control as an industry is. And as a result, there's been kind of this negative moniker on the industry as a whole sometimes that we've been seeing at the local level and in the legislature, where this conversation has shifted to, look, these guys are spraying poison, they're affecting our ecosystems, they're killing animals and birds of prey and mountain lions, is the big one before. When in reality, that's not the case. And you all have a fantastic story to tell, and we're trying to shift that story and put the framework of, look, these are public health defenders. These are people in the communities, protecting against these invasive species and these diseases that we've seen over and over. And let's actually take a second to look at what would happen in the state of California without these folks, or without as many companies, or without the tools and the pesticides and the rodenticides needed to do the job accurately and safely. And I just don't think that people really get that in the legislature or at the local elected level. They're not experts in the policy arena. They're not versed on this. And so it's been our job to kind of frame that conversation. And I'll steal a sentiment that Mike always stands by, and that's the fact that, look, we think the science supports our arguments, and we know it does, and we have the studies to prove it. But if you're going to local gov, or if you're going to the legislature and you start getting into a debate on the neuroscience of what a chemical compound does to a rodent, and which, compounds and chemicals work and which don't, you've already lost. You've already lost the fight, because people just don't understand it. They don't have the mental capacity to listen to it, and it's too sensationalized. And so, what you want to do and what we need to do is frame that battlefield on our side, so that when we go into these meetings with legislators, as the advocates for PCOC, they already understand where we're coming from and where that engagement level is. So, with that, I would like to turn over to Mike to talk a little bit about, his experience, what he thinks we can do with this project, where it can go if we get to the level that we want it to be on, and then also to stress the importance of the engagement from the association, because as we've stressed, this really doesn't happen and take flight without the participation from you all. So, Mike, if you heard that, that is your cue.
Okay, I think I might have a slightly unstable internet connection, so hopefully you're not hearing me too jumbled and you're getting some good sound. If you're not, Sarah, just kind of jump in and say we can't hear what you're saying. Let me start by saying it's really great to be working with this client. I want to talk a little bit about my background. I know you have heard some of what's been happening with what we're trying to accomplish here. Max, I think, set this up perfectly. My most recent history is actually working on presidential campaigns in the 2020 election, and I just got back a few weeks ago from Ukraine, helping to develop their information and messaging programs as part of their war effort. This is a little bit uncommon for me, but I'm intrigued by it, and I wanted to do this race this public affairs effort, because it's very rare to have a client with such a significant but measurable victory that we can get with such strong messaging and visual content from its members. And I have no doubts that this is going to be a successful program if we can engage your membership, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The key part of the success like this is to reframe the entire part of what it is that we're talking about here. When you're talking, whether it's the Ventura County or the state legislature or city councils, about whether or not a chemical that you're using is safe or toxic or cancerous, either to children or human beings or to charismatic wildlife, you've already essentially lost the debate. You're not going to be able to win that fight. We have to have the argument on our own terms. We have to recast and reframe everything that we're talking about in a way that real people and elected officials both can respond to and understand that this is the problem that we're trying to solve for. And it's why you've seen this thematic about rats being driven so strongly, because it's something that allows people to viscerally understand that this is what we need to this is what we need to take care of. Particularly in suburban communities like Ventura County, outside of the urban core, and particularly with a more female demographic, because that's where we're going to see the biggest shift in public opinion. If this were to go before voters or the average citizen, if you're arguing about chemicals in Agoura or Westlake or Thousand Oaks in Ventura County, you're going to lose that fight 9 times out of 10. If you're talking about rat and vermin eradication, 9 times out of 10, you're going to win that fight. So we've got to fight the fight on our terms. And again, this is where this unique opportunity really presents itself. This is a social media campaign at its core. And we've spent the past couple of months populating all of our social media infrastructure and websites with really good, effective, impactful, emotional content that will, no doubt in my mind, move the needle. The challenge for this next phase is to engage your members and all of you as individuals to like and share all of the content that we are putting up, as well as, and this is very important, get us new content as much as you can. I understand completely that this is new activity for a membership organization like yours. But what I will tell you is this: if you are actively engaged, there's no doubt in my mind that we will win this public affairs fight and be able to move more proactively towards a policy framework at the local level that's more conducive and protective of your business and protective of your industry. There's no doubt in my mind. But it's going to require the active engagement, again, of everybody in the room. Max shared with me that when the call first went out earlier today, 50 people signed on, I think, to the Facebook page. That's fantastic. We're going to need you to also do that with Twitter and Instagram, not just as business owners, not just as executives and leaders in your companies, but actually try to engage some of your employee bases and some of your vendors in the same concept. If you're able to do that, the algorithms on these social media programs will go haywire. And then driving this content to elected officials becomes really point. And so we're at a really important inflection point at this moment right now. We're at a really important moment in this campaign. We've got, we think, the frame 100% right. We've got the content completely populated on all of our sites. We have enough content actually to go and start pitching this to local TV news stations and other visual mediums. What we need now is the active participation from you, your companies, not just your leadership, but your employee bases to the extent that we can. Use this as a recruitment tool to other companies, other competitors who may not be active in the association, because you're going to be able to see results, demonstrable results about what it is that you do day in and day out to start reframing this debate in a really positive, impactful, emotional way. So again, I don't know, Max, if you guys have walked through some of the actual tactics of setting this stuff up. My hope is that every one of you will be checking this daily. It only takes a couple of minutes on your social media apparatus. Having done this enough times, my other guess is most of the people in the room, and I can't see you, you can see me, but most of you probably don't have a Twitter account. If there's a way to quickly set one up, it would take 5 to 7 minutes to do a quick demonstration in the room. Simply getting that many likes on all of our postings really kicks what's called the algorithm that makes these things go viral really quickly, happen in pretty short order. But that's the type of activity. It's basic, what we call now clicktivism. We're not asking you to do a whole heck of a lot here. Your team has done a phenomenal job with Sarah taking the lead of populating and gathering this content. We simply need you to be part of sharing it out there on the social media infrastructure to allow us to effectively go to legislators, to county supervisors, and to city council members to frame this in a way that's going to be most impactful in protecting your companies and your industry's interests. So I know, Max, you're going to be walking through some of the analytics and some of the backside of what it is we do to demonstrate how impactful this stuff is. Go ahead and do that now, and then I think we'll be able to take some questions and answers about the campaign or how people can be most helpful in making sure that in the coming couple of weeks and or months, we're able to really recast some of the challenges that you're facing away from the tougher battlefields where we probably can't win the fight to stronger, higher ground where I'm convinced completely we'll be able to have a more productive debate and discussion about the services that you're providing for communities.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mike, for that very important points. And, I think there's a key discussion item there, and that's the fact that, as the legislative advocates, we've been involved with all of the fights that have come our way, 1788, potential, preemption challenges and things like that. And, while there may be one bill, 2146, that's on our radar, maybe there's not that, esoteric threat that's coming our way, but, something we can promise, and I'm sure a lot of you know that have been in the industry for quite a long time, that next big threat is always coming. And, based on the change in tactics that we've seen in the legislature and local level, we know that to be true. And so that's the point, setting up these mediums to ensure that when we do get to that point, we have the firepower to go ahead and fight back. So with that being said, Sarah, if you could switch over to the PowerPoint. And I just have to, can we just give Sarah one quick round of applause for what she's doing back there? We were not prepared on the AV level before this, and she sat down like a wizard on these computers and spilled an energy drink on herself in the process and recovered very well. So thank you so much for doing this. So this is, if you folks haven't seen, this is the Rats of California logo. So when you're on the social media channels, you will be seeing this everywhere. And this is, so Hootsuite is a tool that we use to, again, track all the analytics on the back end of all the social media channels to tell us, where we can improve, where we're doing well, how many people are engaging, things like that. And it's a lot of slides, so I'm going to kind of go through this quickly. I know we've been sitting for quite a while, so I won't bore you with the details, but just to get an idea of kind of where we are. So again, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Twitter probably our least engaged platform right now. Facebook a bit better. Instagram really good right now. So that's what it looks like, our Twitter. A couple days old, so we have more followers and posts than this, but that's what it'll look like. So this is all stats in the last 30 days. So 15 tweets. This is kind of a graph on the prevalence of the tweeting activity. 57 followers. Again, that's gone up a bit, but that's where we're at in 30 days. A good linear line of followers that are joining the cause. Engagement, this is how many people are engaging with the tweets, so liking, reposting, that sort of thing. 5.5% engagement rate, not terrible, but not great. You kind of want to be somewhere around 10% of people that see your post actually, engage with it or send it to somebody else. So can be improved. And this will just show replies, retweets, what that kind of engagement looks like. Clicking on our username and profile. How many people have seen our videos or our GIFs that we're putting out. This number is actually pretty good for our Twitter. 765 impressions. Number of times people are seeing our tweets, right? So that's coming across people's phones. Even if they're not engaging with it, they're still seeing who we are and what we're doing. So kind of a quick rundown of Twitter. Facebook, definitely our next area of focus. We've been trying to follow all of the membership companies and all these social media channels. So if any of you run those company media channels and you see a follow or a like from Rats of California, you know who it's from. We've been trying to get all the membership companies on Facebook in the last week or so. But as I said earlier, they have an algorithm on Facebook where if you like or try to follow too many things, they think you're a Russian bot trying to take over the website and they shut you down. So we got to be judicious with that. But anyway, this is what the Facebook looks like. 14 posts again in the last 30 days, kind of what days we're posting on. 98 fans. I can say that this morning we were up over 100 fans, which is a nice little hallmark to hit. But it's interesting talking to Ryan Pena in the PR committee. And, we had 102 followers, I think, this morning through a fair amount of grinding on our end, trying to get that outreach. And, he told everyone sitting there, I think 10 people, to take out your phones, send this link to your friends, which you can do right on your profile. And we jumped up to 158 in about 30 minutes. So over a 50% increase in 30 minutes, which just shows how powerful the engagement from you all can be. You have the connections in this industry, your friends, your family members, your employees, they all, can benefit from this campaign. So that is a very powerful tool that needs to be utilized. So we're a lot higher than that right now, which is great. Again, the linear graph kind of showing how many fans we've had. A good little spike there in the last couple of days. Engagements, people engaging with our posts, clicks again. Now this is a good number. This is your page engagement rate, right? So this is what happens when people go to the Rats of California Facebook page and then they actually start clicking on our links and looking at our stuff. This shows that 20% of people that hit our page are actually engaging with the content we're putting out, which kind of shows you that when people get to our profile, they like what they see. They're interested, they want more. And so when you have that number, it's just a matter of driving the raw numbers of people to get to your site, and then the engagement goes up from there. So this is pretty cool as well. We hit 1,000 overall impressions a few days ago. So how many times people are seeing the posts, which is a pretty good number for Facebook. Page views, clicks again. This is the engagement rate on the actual posts, a little different than the actual page. So around that 5% again. Post impressions, number of time your pages posts appear on someone's screen, pretty high and pretty good. The number of users that have seen our posts so far, again approaching 1,000, which is nice. Video views, and this is the total amount of time that folks have spent looking at our videos. And our videos are really only about 10 seconds long, so the fact that people are sitting there for 26 minutes and looking at the content is pretty good. So that's Facebook, and then lastly we have Instagram, and I think this is kind of our most engaged profile so far. This is what it looks like right now, and if you can see down below, we like to post articles kind of substantiating the claims that we're making. Blair is fantastic with her rat facts that have cool little factoids about the terrible things that rats can do in and around your home. So if there's any ideas for those, definitely let us know. I'm sure there's a plethora of them. Again, 14 posts in the last 30 days, 193 followers. We're actually above 200 now this morning, so good little hallmark again. Follower base growing each day, which is good organic growth. Post engagement shows you if it's photos or videos, who's engaging on what. 150 views on our videos. This impression is over 1,000, 1.2 thousand. That's a pretty good number again for where we are, considering you have 200 followers, but you have 1.2 thousand impressions. That's good. 1.1K users that we're reaching, again above 1,000, which is good. 13.6% engagement rate. That's healthy. That's above that 10% standard, which is a pretty good engagement rate for our posts. Profile impressions, so people that are actually seeing our profile, again, even higher, 1.6K. That's our highest impression rate so far, which is good. Profile reach, how many folks are looking at our profile. Profile visits, how many times they're actually getting to the profile. And this is a kind of fun demographic of who's our audience. So if you look, pretty much our key audience is between the ages of 25 and 44. So sort of the folks in the graphics and the visuals that we're targeting kind of skew that way. And then maybe about 25% in the 45 to 54 age range as well. And then I think that's last. And we got website clicks. How many people click on our website? So lastly, again, these are the QR codes. So we try to make it as easy as we possibly can for folks to follow our social media channels. So with these QR codes, all you need to do is take out your phone and point your camera at it, and it'll take you right to there. So I encourage, Blair, if you want to speak about it. She's coming up. Yeah.
So I know that you already have your phone, so that's good. So go ahead and raise your hand if you have a Twitter. Twitter's all over you. Okay, so you guys are gonna get on your phone right now, go to Twitter. If you need help, go ahead and do that. How about Facebook? That's the next one that we need to know. I feel like you have a Facebook. If you have a Facebook, go ahead and navigate to it now. And then for those of you, you just know these are pretty good Instagram.
Dean is our #1 follower. I expect Greg to have the same amount of engagement.
I challenge you.
The next president,
That's right. I challenge back. You'll beat that.
double my number. I just put it on my Facebook and Instagram. I don't know.
Awesome. Thanks, Blair.
Can you mention too that they're all going to be all around tomorrow too, so if they didn't get it up here today, they can, or don't have their phones with them.
Yep. Thank you, Blair. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So how does the following translate to followers? I see like on both platforms, our followers are like, we have 217 on Instagram and 1,240 following. So how does that?
Yeah. So following is how many people we are following as an account. Yeah, so that's why you'll see obviously a big discrepancy there. We've been going through and trying to follow all of the membership companies for PCOC, and we follow a lot of legislators, and try to make sure that they're seeing our content as well. News media channels, kind of all those folks that you can imagine in the media sphere to try to drive that traffic. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Again, trying to break through into the digital age a bit and help us fight our battles in the legislature as well, and can't appreciate your guys' support enough. It's been fantastic working with everybody on these projects, and look forward to more engagement and rap videos to come. It's my new favorite hobby, looking at all those rap videos. It's great. Really? No way.
Yes, it's on.
Oh yeah, there was a Disneyland one,
I saw
huh?
that too.
Yeah, there was a Disneyland post. Nobody would want to engage with us then, Lee. Come on. Yeah, and if you see one of a golden retriever attacking a rat in a house, that is my golden retriever and my dog, the rat that we couldn't get, that was living in our couch for a couple months, and he found. So a lot of fun content on there. Do we have any other questions, or Tom, you got a hand up?
No, I was just going to ask you to point out one of the posts was your house.
That's Leonardo Perry, the 2-year-old golden retriever that hides from butterflies but kills rats. So that's good. Anyways, any other questions or comments from folks? All right, thank you, and sorry for the distasteful joke to start.
Thanks, Max. Great stuff. Excited about it. Okay, moving along, I'd like to call it Mary Hernandez for your treasurer's report.
Good afternoon. If you'll follow me on your blue papers in your packet, please. I'm going to start with the balance sheet, our assets. Total checking savings are $284,167 and are composed of checking, dues money market, building reserve, equipment impound, legal impound, Cal OSHA, and encumbered building reserves. Total accounts receivable is $13,569 and are composed of AR 2122, state dues of $12,371, AR 2122 district dues of $984, AR 2122 PEPCO contributions of $215. Total fixed assets are $148,779 and are composed of land, automobile, building improvements, and furniture fixtures net of accumulated depreciation. Total other assets are $3,555 and are the equity PCOC group, which is the PCOC investment in the insurance program. Total assets come in at $450,070. Liabilities and equity as of April 30th, 2022. And by the way, the other one was from April 30th, 2022 also. Forgot to comment on that. Liabilities and equity. Total current liabilities are $223,915 and are composed of accounts payable and other current liabilities. Total accounts payable are $202,216 and are composed of AP trade of $15,000, which is ARC Public Relations Campaign, AP auto loan of $13,656, AP district dues of $56,661, PCOC cares of $450, PAPCO at $47,865, PAPCO 12% of $45,753, Wells Fargo credit cards of $22,830. Total other current liabilities are $21,699 and are composed of insurance, medical, $584, deferred 21-22 state dues of $12,371, deferred 21-22 district dues of $984, deferred 21-22 PAPCO contributions of $215, vacation payable of $8,714. Total equity is $226,155 and is composed of retained earnings of $153,450 and net income of $72,705. Total liabilities and equity balance out at $450,070. And lastly, the statement of activities for the period ending in April 30th, 2022. This financial statement represents 10 months of our total budgeted year. Income. Total income for the current period, the month ending in April 2022, is $58,570. Total income for the year to date, the 10 months ending April 30th, 2022, which is 10 months of our fiscal year, is $903,586. This is 100.4% of the total budgeted amount. Expenses. Total expenses for the current period, the month of April 2022, are $91,453. Total expenses for the year to date ending April 30th, 2022, which is 10 months of our fiscal year, are $830,881. And this is 92.3% of the total budgeted amount. The statement of activities for the current period, the month ending April 2022, reported a net loss of $32,883. The statement of activities for the year to date ending April 30th, 2022, which is 10 months of our fiscal year, reported a net income of $72,705. That concludes my report. Are there any questions? Of the 56,661?
Sure.
Yeah, hey, Bobby, that's correct. If you remember, as we got into that spring of 2020, we were sort of in desperate need. And we told this board, I think in March or April of that year, that, you know, as I reached out to all the districts at the time and said, you know, we are effectively not only seeking help, but allow us to postpone paying the districts back till we sort of work our way through this issue. So that's the reason why. And by the way, we're getting there.
And we've come a long way. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. As I said before. Yeah. Last one, yeah, and again, reflecting through my chair, my positions on that was the scariest position was treasurer. I'm glad it's over. Now I'd like to call on Chris Reardon. He has a special guest he'd like to introduce.
Folks, as you know, normally we've been lucky to have the director of DPR join us, at least in my tenure here. And we initially had the new director sort of penciled in, and because of scheduling issues, she couldn't make it, but I found somebody. And my good gentleman I've known for a long time, Ken Everett, and I worked with him when I was at DPR years ago. He's as good as it gets, in my opinion. He's the relatively new, not real new, but the relatively new Assistant Director of Enforcement. He's someone that knows the DPR program, pesticide program, just about as well as anybody currently at DPR. We're glad to have him here. Ken, thank you for coming down. I wanted to have Ken talk a little bit of kind of what's going on at the department and some key issues. And he was at our legislative meeting this morning and chatted a little bit and questions as well. And we're glad you're here, Ken. So take it away. Welcome, Ken, if you would.
Thank you. And thank you, Chris. Chris asked me to kind of talk about some of the priorities that are going to be going on in the department, especially for this next year. And, you know, I got to say, the last 2 years, DPR has been extremely busy for a lot of different reasons. COVID has, you know, put a strain on us in ways that we never imagined. Obviously, everybody needed disinfectants, and they needed it now. And so, obviously, we had to readdress and, you know, reshuffle our priorities for that. But for this year, you know, we have 5 primary priorities that we're working on. And I'm going to go through each one of these in a little bit more detail, but I'm just going to read them off here real quick. The first one is notification, statewide notification. That's one of our primary priorities coming up. A lot of you have probably heard about the Sustainable Pest Management Working Group as well. So you know, we'll be talking about that. Of course, neonics, another hot topic. Something that may not be in your guys' realm so much, but it is in ours, is 13D. And then finally, the department's funding. That's going to be a big challenge for us in the next couple years, quite honestly. So I just want to start off with the notification project. So the statewide notification project is a system we're developing to create more transparency. This is really a system that's going to complement what we're already doing to protect, you know, the public and the environment out there. But you know, one of the biggest complaints we're hearing out there is people just aren't aware of what's going on out there, and they're very concerned about it. There's also a huge misperception about what is going on out there and what we do, or whether or not there is anybody out there enforcing laws and regulations. And so that's going to be our big push for the next year, at least probably until 2024, 25. That's when we hope to have the system fully operational. You know, well, stepping back real quick here, we currently have 4 pilots underway to help start working on pieces of the statewide notification system. This is looking to be a web-based or text-type system that will be pushing out notifications on especially applications for restricted materials. And so right now we're kind of working on the guise of the structure we have. You know, for most ag applications, it requires a 24-hour notice of intent. And so we're taking that information and putting it out for people to see in either a web-based or in text-type format. We'll continue this process probably for the next couple of years as well, trying to refine the components on how this is going to work. I will say at the end of this month, June 27th, 28th, and 29th, we are having public workshops available, so feel free to join in on us. That information is on our website, and you can join in at any time on that. They're going to be at 3 different times. So I think the 27th will be in the morning, the 28th will be in the afternoon, and the 29th is in the evening. So that's one of the big ones that we're dealing with, and so a lot more coming on that in the future. The other one, as you guys know, the Sustainable Pest Management Working Group is currently finishing up their report. This group consisted of about 26 different members from various backgrounds, including ag, structural, as well as EJ and tribal members as well. And so they have compiled a list of recommendations, and I will say I haven't seen them yet, so don't ask me what's in it. So I am looking forward to seeing this document as well. We are supposed to be seeing this document around the 20th, I believe. It was the last word I heard, so keep your eye out on that. But again, this is a pretty diverse group that's been working on a lot of different issues, including urban. And so it'll be interesting to see what all they come up with. Moving on here to the next thing. The other item, neonics. And obviously, we have 2146 out there. And I don't know if you guys want to go down that road or not today on this, but, as far as what the department is doing for neonics, we're working on the ag side of the equation right now on this. We actually released regulations on this. And so the 60-day comment period actually just closed just a few days ago, matter of fact. And so we're going to currently review those recommendations. A lot of those, that reg package should be out in probably in the next year. But keep posted at our website because more information will be coming out on that. I will say for 2146, the department hasn't taken a position on this, but we are working with the author of the bill on that language, and so we hopefully will have more developments on that in the future. And, of course, the next big one is how we're going to fund this department in the future, and this is going to be a big challenge for us. Currently, last year the legislature gave us some money to help do a mill study, and so that mill study is currently underway. So hopefully we'll have the results of that by the end of this year, which will help drive us in our decision making for what we're going to need for resources in the future. We have a lot going on in this department, so expanding our resources is going to be a necessary part of this, but there's going to be a lot of discussions behind this as well. So next year we'll probably have quite a few BCPs. Next year is going to be an exciting year for us. This funding goes not just for us, but it's also for the commissioners. There's a lot of issues going on out there. As you know, some of you maybe realize commissioners get a lot of money just from use of restricted materials as well, just because of all the work that's involved with the restricted material. But as that goes down in usage, because our overall goal is to move away from the harsher chemicals and to the more softer chemicals, there's going to be a little bit of a income gap there. The other factor that the commissioners are going to have to deal with is the drought, because obviously if crops can't get planted, crops aren't getting sprayed, therefore money's not being generated because of the use or sales of chemicals. So those are all things we're going to have to take a look at and try to balance out in the future. The last thing I want to kind of hit on for you guys, and this is outside of the primary product or topics I just discussed, is our C&T regulations that have just got posted as of early this week or maybe late last week. This is a pretty significant regulation package that we are putting out. This is a mandate from the federal government. In 2017, they issued a notice basically through 40 CFR Part 171, basically stating that the states are going to have to meet certain criteria in order to maintain their certification programs, licensing and certification. So what this is going to do for the department is that we're having to make some adjustments to licenses
especially in the soil fumigant areas as well as non-soil fumigant areas, the private applicators, and then some minor areas as well as some other areas in our licensing categories. So, like I said, that regulation package is posted right now for everybody to see. So please take a look at it. And I'll leave it at that for right now. So I'll open up to any questions. Ken, do you mind if I maybe ask the first one? Notification, of course, it's been around the department a long time. It's been primarily aimed at our friends in agriculture. Is that the way you see it too? Do you see the structural industries sort of will have to be engaged in this as well? I wanted to get your thoughts on that. I've talked to, by the way, a couple of commissioners as well, so I think they're... You know, the primary view right now is with the ag industry. However, I will say structural has not been ruled out yet by any means. We're not, but we haven't got to that point at this stage yet. A lot of it is, you know, we're just starting to work on the regulatory aspect as we start figuring out what the system's going to do and how it's going to work. Because we're going to have to make some adjustments in certain areas in order for this to work. Okay. Good. And I hope that as you guys start looking our way on this issue, that you'll, you know, call us, talk to us. Well, absolutely. And, you know, I can't recommend, or, you know, can't emphasize enough to please join in the workshops. That's a good place to get the public comment in there. There's a lot of different public comment in there. So, you know, your voice is just as important as anybody else's too. Okay. Good. Thank you. Questions for Ken? Boy, you got off easy. I sure did. Wow, you got off easy. No, there we go. Oh, God. Oh, there's John. I should have known. I should have known. John. Well, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that because that's not my area of expertise. But, you know, I think it's a pretty balanced approach as as much as possible. You know, we're looking at the products for what they are, you know, what are their risks, and trying to make make the right decision and make it work for everybody, including you guys as well as, you know, the public. So I can't say it's skewed one way or another, quite honestly. That's not my impression. But it is taking a very hard look, and you know, I will say that things are changing as far as, you know, what people are expecting in science in this. And I could also say science is changing, so we're getting better science on this, and so that's helping drive the decisions as well. So, you know, as new information comes in available, you know, that is a determining factor as well. So that, you know, and like I say, really the new science has actually been a bigger factor than anything else. Any questions? Ken, thank you very much. All right, thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you, Ken. That was awesome. I'd like to bring up Greg Augustine to present our 22-23 budget for approval.
Okay, turn in your packages to their white pages with colorful columns. A yellow column for the budget of last year and the tan column for the proposed budget of this year. Towards the back. All right. Gosh, I have not done this before. So actual year-to-date, and then perhaps maybe it's better to compare the year-to-date that we are concluding on 4/30/22 with proposed budget for the whole year. Well, that's not exactly fair either. So let's go back and compare budget with budget. Last year, our budget was $455,000 in dues for PCOC. This year, $585,000. Year to date, we're up $566,000. As you all may recall, we did have a dues increase. State dues will be $445,000, district dues $57,500, PAPCO dues $82,733. And those ultimately get passed from the state association onto the districts or onto PAPCO. Dues that are left over from previous years is nominal $500. Advertising revenue, and I think that's primarily Naylor and such, $18,600. The annual PCOC Expo, $150,000 is our revenue side budget for that. Building fund, $7,500 is our revenue. This is on the revenue side that we're looking at now, $7,500. Candidate research fundraiser, $25,000. Chemtrack program, $9,000. Commission income, $3,000. Quality Pro CERT program, $4,000. The leadership seminar, we're expected to revenue side to be $20,000. Legislative day, $45,000. Miscellaneous income, $1,000. Pest Ed conference income, $50,000. Printing sales income, $2,500. Professional women in pest management, $1,000. Public relations communications, revenue of $51,000. Board of Directors meetings, $20,000. Termite Academy, $30,000. For a total revenue of $1,023,333 for the budget coming up. The annual expo, now we look at the expense side, so don't get too excited that we're making $150,000 on the expo. We have $130,000 of proposed expenses, which would give us a net of $20,000. Accounting fees, $62,000. Automobile expense, $5,000. Board Director meeting expense, $32,500. Chemtrack expense, $6,000. Committee credit card expense, $12,500. That's the cost of processing credit cards. Database expense, $22,500. District distributions, $57,500. Dues and subscriptions, $4,500. Education, $500 expense. Executive Vice President expenses, $5,000. Insurance combined, $18,000. IT support, $6,000. 401k, $9,000. Leadership expense, $12,000. Legal expense, $5,000. Legislative advocate, $75,000. Legislative day expense, $40,000. Membership director expense, $3,000. NPMA convention and ledge day, $10,000. Office expense, $10,000. PAPCO distributions of 12%, $54,600. PAPCO distributions voluntary funds, $28,033. Payroll taxes, $21,000. Pest Ed expense, $32,000. Postage, $300. President's expense, $2,500. President-elect's expense, $1,000. Printing material cost, $500. Repair and maintenance building, $8,000. Repair and maintenance equipment, $5,000. Salaries, $297,000. Shipping expense, $400. Taxes property, $9,700. Telephone expense, $7,500. Termite Academy, $10,000. Utilities, $12,000. And the website, $8,000. Total expenses come in at $1,023,333, and we come in at a net of zero, neither a profit nor a loss. It's balanced. As to process, one thing I'd like to say is, as our new CPA who's here today, John Worden, is catching up on things and cleaning things up. He's going to be a bigger part of the budget going forward. He will be front-loading our budget, this budget, into QuickBooks and trying to get some historical budgets or results into it as well. So years in the coming years, the budgeting process will be more data-based, data-driven, because we'll be coming out of QuickBooks, and that is one of his off-season projects as we look forward to next year. Questions? Wow. Then I seek a motion to approve the budget as read and published. Ralph Reese, thank you, Ralph. Second? Second. Thank you, Jen Fox. Thank you, Jen. Do I hear any discussion? Hearing none, call for the Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. Excuse me, Mike. I didn't really hear the question.
You mentioned under the proposed budget, the 585 includes state, district, and capital.
Correct, breaking it out, breaking down the 585 to its components. Is that correct, John?
That is correct.
Okay. Jackie?
So I noticed that there's an income line item for Brooklyn, but I didn't, so where does that fall in the expenses side?
In-kind item 4?
PW academic.
Okay. And
So where does it balance out?
there may be no expenses. What is the source of does anyone know the source of the PW IPM?
Where do we get that money?
That's donations and stuff from the different things that.
Okay.
That's located there. We do our quarterly webinars and sponsorships for those.
So that's coming in, and you're suggesting that we also pay it back out?
Well, I'm just wondering, because the expenses balance with the income, where that, like, how does that? Where does their money go?
Yeah, where does their money go? The answer is I don't know. Do you see it on the expense side, John?
No, it's not there. I know exactly what you're talking about. This fiscal year was the first time we've accounted for that separately, and I've just netted it in just the income.
John, you want to step up? You can step up here, John, please.
This is the first year that we accounted for the women in management, and so I just netted the income and expenses into one account. But you are absolutely right that there should be something corresponding, because you don't really want to do that as an ongoing process. So you're absolutely right that there should be some sort of expense account, and assuming you're going to spend everything that you bring in, then that should be $1,000 or somewhere thereabouts. Maybe 2,500.
Thank you, Jackie. Any other questions, discussion before we vote on the motion? Mike?
So I see a few reductions in costs, and it's just for actual because the VOD meeting expenses coming down from 55 to 32, that's pretty significant. Is it because of workability?
Yeah. Mike, one of the things that we were grappling with, now, if you got your breaks.
Okay.
It's just a projection, but this year, because we, particularly in our September board meeting, we had a lot of sponsors. And so we generated a whole bunch of revenue. And so we didn't think that was probably, we could achieve that going forward. We effectively had sort of a mini expo, as you recall, in Carlsbad. And so we raised a ton of revenue. That event effectively paid for itself. So that's why we're trying to be more reasonable in terms of, by the way, we're still going to try to pursue revenues at our board meeting, but we thought that's probably a more realistic number.
So is that what the proposed revenue for the VOD is?
Yes.
I have a question. For the Petco distribution, expense-wise, 28,033, why is it so low?
Both of the PAPCO distributions will equal the PAPCO revenue.
Okay.
Both of those two numbers combined, I think one's 58, one's 20,
Oh, combined, okay. Thank you.
54 and 28.
Any further discussion or questions on the proposed budget? All in favor of the budget as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Go.
Thank you, Greg. I'd like to call up Lee Whitmore for PCOC insurance report.
Geez Louise, man, I tell you what, I feel like I've been here for quite some time already. Good afternoon. Yeah. I don't know. about that. I'm going to try to go quick. Eric, why don't you come up and join me, buddy? Yellow pages, there's your financials. The front page has the balance sheet. Any questions? Back page, statement of activities, shows year-to-date income, $97,419, current period of $5,500. Net income for the current period, loss of about $16,000, but for the year, we're showing an income of $56,527. That's less than usual. We're not doing the contribution to the association, the $36,000 that we've done annually over a period of time, but we've also lost a point on our commission side, so the income's down somewhat. One point on the balance sheet, I'll say the Schwab investment account, you can see it's reflected at $241,900. As of today, it's at $240,618. We have that professionally managed. The investment account is down about 9.2% for the year, which is still, quite a bit better than the S&P 500 and the other resulting benchmarks that we kind of compare with. Any questions on the financials? We did have a discussion during our meeting today where last year we did end up paying some income tax, and it all came out at the end of the year, so we had to liquidate some of our financial holdings in order to meet that tax liability. This year, we're going to take a look at trying to pay those on a quarterly basis, just so the impact at the end of the year is a little less, and we can manage the outflow of those funds. As far as program results go, we talked about that today during our meeting. Auto continues to just about peg out each year. It's hard to tell because they showed, when we look at the results, they showed development. So there's some anticipation of claims coming in later over the period of time, development of claims that have already been filed. One of the recurring themes that we're seeing is, claims that come in today on auto accidents, they just end up going, they increase to higher amounts than what we're used to. And it just costs more to repair vehicles. Folks are more and more litigious out there these days. One of the claims that we had, and we had it reflected at a relatively reasonable amount, ended up just recently developing. Lady works at a law firm, in that account, then, that claim looks like it's going to be a max claim now, where we thought it was going to be less than half of that probably. And so that sort of stuff's not uncommon. When people get hit by commercial vehicles today, they see that as an opportunity. And you guys need to realize that within your own companies. One of the things that we see that seems to be very favorable, and we're going to try to put into the news brief some success articles about this. But when you have telematics in your vehicles, that really does assist us with the claims handling. If there's video that shows that we're not at fault. My company itself had an accident that occurred where a motorcyclist tried to pass us on the right side in the alleyway, and then ended up running into the back of our truck. And fortunately, we had some video and witnesses of that and stuff. And, they already filed suit against us, as if it was our fault. And the driver was even cited because of the video evidence that was there. He is cited for reckless driving, and still he's filing suit against us. That stuff happens all the time. So if you don't have telematics, if you're not using the Azugo, which we get a discounted rate for, you really should consider having that implemented within your auto plans. I think that's a good idea. Program renewal. So our program, last year we backed it up until August because we were waiting on some quotes to come back from the Hanover Group. So this year our renewal remains at 8/1. We're going through that process, and your committee is doing its due diligence to try to make sure that we get the best program aligned that we can. And we're receiving assistance from our friends at Epic and Eric here in order to do that. Hopefully that's not me. And with that, I'd like to turn it over. So we have received some renewal terms, and with that, I'll turn it over to Eric and let him say a few words.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks, everybody. So we went out to market this year, talked to several markets, several carriers. The marketplace remains very difficult. Hanover's come to terms with the best in the market. So we've gone through that with the board and the committee. One of the things that we struggled with in the marketplace was the size of the program. Right now, the program's at about 7 million. You know, one of the goals that we have right now, and we talked about this at the last meeting, was continuing to push this program to get it to more of a $10 million level, which gives us more leverage in the marketplace, and more carriers wanting to take a look at it. The auto results have really driven our inability to get other carriers to really come to terms with getting us aggressive terms in the marketplace. So like Lee talked about, but the auto is driving a lot of these results. As we went through the results today, the GL and some of the other lines of coverage have actually been performing very well. So one of the things that we talked about in the meeting today was, you know, really breaking out the last 5 years of auto accidents and really digging deeper into those as to where they're occurring, what areas in the state, and the type of accidents that are happening, and using that in some of our communication pieces out to not only the insureds but also the PCOC members, and putting more training together to kind of help avoid those accidents. And you know, autos, again, I mean, it just remains our biggest stressor in the marketplace, not even just the PCOC, but across the board in all of insurance. So, you know, we look forward to working with the board to continue to, you know, drive growth within this and, you know, keep on moving forward.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, so if you're in this room and you haven't, and you're insured maybe with a different carrier or through a different program, we understand that there's options out there, but I would really encourage you to make sure to get in touch with myself or with Eric or with Laura or Michael and get a quote. You know, at least give these folks an opportunity to provide you with a quote. In the past, we have been a captive, you know, so literally you all were in the insurance program and we owned up to 40% of that book of business internally here. So it's like a 60-40 split. If you recall last year, I told you that had dropped all the way down to 10%. The reason that we dropped down to 10% is because the collateral requirements and year after year of poor results, specifically in the auto, caused us to not have enough cash to be able to stay in the captive program at the level that we were at previously. This coming renewal term, we see that as not being a participant in the 2022 renewal as far as a captive participant, again, because the results are too poor for us to be able to collateralize the next year. You know, each year you have to put up like the cash up front. In the past, we were able to do that off the proceeds from stacked successful years. Well, now we've had stacked unsuccessful years for about 5 years or 6 years in a row. And so we basically run the coffers dry. And that's unfortunate. You know, we really do need to figure out how to handle the auto and make sure that we're doing and having better results there. So if you have any success stories or recommendations from where you're at, please let us know. And like Eric was saying, you know, a real key is for us to try to increase the amount of premium dollars that we have in the program. So if you're somewhere else, please allow these guys the opportunity to provide you a quote during your renewal. Let them know at least 3-4 months in advance so we can do a really good, diligent job for you. All right. If you have any concerns about the insurance program or from any facet, I'm in the directory. Please feel free to contact me directly if I can be of assistance. I would be glad to do so. Any further questions or anything in regard to my report? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. All right, now we're going to move on to our committee reports. We still have general election out of it after this, and we have a hard out at 5 because we got to go head over to the silent auction. So try to be as quickly as possible through our reports. That'd be great. I'd appreciate it. Greg Augustine, come up.
Okay, may I please call up Christine Cornejo with PCOC Cares. Christine, do you have a committee report? What? Rob Willis. Okay, Rob will be standing in.
Chris couldn't join us today, unfortunately.
Okay.
Sorry you wasn't in the loop on that one, Greg.
That's all right.
She texted me late last night, let me know that she was positive.
Oh, gosh. Here's the mic, Rob.
Yes, there is. So she texted me very late last night to let me know that she had tested positive for COVID and she wouldn't be able to make it. And then she asked me if I could help out today, and I said, sure, I can do that. Let's find out exactly. So bear with me, we put together a few notes. CARES was started 21 years ago by Tom Meany, and it was the Community Action Relief for Emergency Situations for our industry to take care of our own people. Now, ever since I first got involved with PCOC over 20 years ago, I've been giving to this faithfully annually because it is something I care about. I give money to organizations that concern me, and that's what this is all about. Having said that, since then, CARES has helped about 140 families with over $370,000 in donations coming from this community right here. That's a pretty good standing, pretty good. 15 since last summer, including 8 families through our CARES for the Holidays program, where we just helped them out to make sure that they actually had a decent Christmas. So the largest donation last year, we helped out a family with $3,500 in one shot. So if you would turn to the pink sheets, pretty simple. We've got total assets, let's see, we've got $20,399, and our ARs are at $450. We've got no accounts payables, and we're a little bit short for our donations, so our net income was a negative $11,557. So all told, $20,849. If you flip over to page 2, here's what we're looking at is we've got year-to-date $7,136 in donations, total income. And let's see, bank service charges, year-to-date we're looking at $597. The gifts that we've given out, the benevolence, totals out to $18,045 year-to-date is what we've actually helped people with. Licensing and permitting, $50. So the total expense was $18,692. 693, and there's the shortfall, so that's 11,557. We're going to cure a lot of that just over the next couple of days, fortunately. In fact, Tom Graston is around here somewhere. Tom, come on up. Thank you. So Tom's been calling and reaching out to a lot of us to raise awareness and raise money for CARES. What do we got?
So hi, everybody. You know, when you listen to these numbers, we went from 32,000 down to 20,000. That's kind of a desperate time. You know, there's 4 seasons in California. I'm still in your line again, John. Hope you're not charging for this. You know, there's winter, spring, summer, and then fire season. And this is one program we have that helps support our, like people we work with, our technicians, our families. And so, in the past few years, trying to repair the building, I always did a reverse draw over the banquet, and we did a 50-50 draw. And at times, we would raise like $2,500 for the building, or $3,000. So this time, I'm doing it for CARES, but I did a little different. I contacted each one of the districts, so we wouldn't waste time here going asking for people, and the contributions were amazing. I mean, so far, I've raised $6,500 to do a 50-50 raffle. I am still selling tickets. So imagine this. On Friday night, tomorrow night, I could be giving up to about $4,000, maybe even more. My goal is to raise $10,000, $5,000 for the raffle, $5,000 for CARES. We have to try and build back up this account. This account going from 32,000 down to 20,000, and we're coming into the fire season before you know it. We need your help. So if you'd like, the tickets are $25 each. 5 for $100. Come out and see me. We take MasterCard, checks, cash, firstborns. You got it. The whole idea is that, we're raising some money for a very good cause that affects you, your families, and your support, which is your employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Excellent. Yeah, you can count on it. I'll be there tomorrow night. So far, what we've got that's come in is we've had proceeds from the wine basket raffle from our last board of directors meeting were $1,477. The Christmas ornament drive that we started up last year brought in $4,358, and we'll be doing that again this year. We're looking at an additional $2,002 from teaming up with Scholarship for the Park Hopper raffle that came up. So that's all pending. So we've chosen the new Christmas design, the Christmas ornament design for this drive for Cares for the Holidays. And we're looking for a few sponsors at $250 a sponsor. And the sponsors will be recognized on our sponsor board at our upcoming VOD meetings, and obviously with our gratitude. But that's what we're working on right now for the immediate future. So we'll have more information on that as we get those out and get the sponsors in and get that up and running. What is it, only 170 days left until Christmas or something like that? So we're trying to plan that ahead right now. Okay? All righty. Are there any questions I can't answer? No? Okay.
Any sponsors?
Yeah, anybody want to step up for sponsorship immediately? We'll hit up Ann later on anyway. Thank you very much. Cool.
Okay.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right, next is, I don't see Jason Payne. Is there anyone here to represent the Fumigation Committee or speak on behalf of the Fume Committee? Or the Fume Enforcement? Double down on that and do both at the same time. Hey, John.
Hi, guys. You guys look familiar.
How you doing, Jim Shockey? I'm sorry to wake you up from your nap. So we had our committee meeting last week, and so we had really good turnout in a lot of the ag departments that, you know, kind of in the throes of losing people during COVID have really started to add people again. So LA County, they're ready to hire a deputy by this summer to replace Anaco, but they inspected at just about a 4% inspection rate. And year to date, they've got about 22,000 fumigations for the year. And through the program, that amounts to about $175,000 for LA County. And we had to follow up with a couple of companies that certified the building without doing a proper aeration.
How did I do that?
The next, Orange County, they really picked up the pace. They have a new commissioner, Jose Arriaga, and they inspected at an all-time high rate of 15%, which we've never, ever had before. They got about 11,000 fumigations and $87,000, but no real serious violations. San Diego reported, and again, I'm happy to say that they have picked up the pace on their inspections. They're doing better inspections, going back inside the jobs. And they were at an adjusted 4.7%. So about 14,000 fumigations for about $110,000. Santa Clara, which we thought would opt out of the program, they've started to hire some additional people. And so they actually gave a very active report for the first time in over a year, since they had lost most of their inspectors that had been taken by the county to do other projects for COVID. And they inspected at 3.2%. They're about 5,500 fumes for the year, $44,000, and they actually had several violations reported. Those are the first violations reported in over a year in Santa Clara County. They have decided that they think they can do the job and they want to continue within the program. They're regarding an update in regard to what EPA is doing on interim regulations. There's really been no response. Douglas Products continues to work with them to try to answer questions, but we had anticipated that maybe something would happen by, say, this time, but it looks like maybe it'll be delayed till re-registration, which would be next year. So no update from EPA. I'm happy to say in regard to the bystander issue, we did finally do the tour. So this is the first one we've done for in several years. Thanks to Janet Rowley for all of her help, support from Heather Kern in getting that tour set up. Thanks to Quality for the fumigations. We had a real tight window in Long Beach, and we were able to get all of the jobs that we needed. DPR was able to send several people down, and we had the key people from environmental monitoring and from the SF program, as well as MinFam, who's in charge of environmental monitoring. So also we had the director there that came down. And so I'm happy to say that we spent 2 days together. We did a training meeting at our office for PCOC to tell their story, which we did do. We had branch threes that were also invited, because we did want to discuss the situation on the requirement to fumigate and when it's necessary. And so I think we had a good exchange with DPR and all the folks that were there. And I think that, there'll be continuing dialogue in the future. So overall, I thought it was a good exchange. They had the right people, and I think we had the right people there. In regard to the program itself, we have a bill that's going on right now. We're recommending LA, Orange County, and Santa Clara. And we're in closed talks still with San Diego. They are not in the bill. I know Chris testified this week, and the bill is moving along, and probably things will be finalized in the next 30 days, by the end of this month to determine the status. I did call Hadeng from San Diego County yesterday, and during the fumigation committee meeting today, she called me back. So I was able to talk to her after I got done with the committee meeting. And so she would like to have a discussion again next week, with the key thing being, citing of licensees versus the companies. So I'll try to be pulling that together. So any questions on either the fumigation or fumigation committee report?
John, you should have put Hadeng on speaker for the meeting.
You did.
Well, yeah, I did actually, but not the actual conversation, but, she kind of sees things through her eyes, and she's going to try to explain to us how she's really citing licensees despite not really citing them. So she's going to explain it to us. So it's kind of her version of events. So anyways, the ball's in her court. She's not in the bill. So unless something, changes that we're satisfied with, she may have to sit out a year, but, remains to be seen what will actually happen. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, John. For those of you who are paying attention, I overlooked the membership committee. Nicole, but you have nothing, or do you want to? Okay, thank you so much, Nicole.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you guys. It's been too long. So met today for the first time in a long time in person with everybody. A couple things we're going to work with Christy on are updating. There's an older brochure pamphlet that's kind of a what has PCOC done for me lately kind of a thing. We're going to work on updating that and making sure that gets into distribution and arm everybody with it to kind of help remind everybody what exactly it is that's being done for them to help safeguard their business. We're going to work on refreshing the welcome packet, updating look, feel, content, things like that. So it looks a little bit more engaging, just time to kind of bump it up. Look at a little website refresh as well. Look at if we can digitize the member application. And a little update, membership is down about 8%, but it's been climbing back. About 3% was regained in the last quarter. So things are on the uptick, which is good. And that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. All right, I'd like to turn it over to Treasurer Mary Hernandez. Mary?
Thank you, Greg. Hello again. Let's start with Rodenticide Task Force. Sylvia, do you have anything? Okay, moving right along, let's go to Scholarship Committee. Vince Scoville. I'm kind of jumping around, but I got a method to my madness. Thank you, Vince, for coming on down.
Good afternoon. Well, for the scholarship, if you turn to the pink or mauve color, you can get the totals there. 440,729.20 is in the fund. We've had some movement due to the stocks and stuff, what's going on with the market, but we are still gearing up to give away $10,000 in scholarships this coming year. As the CARES just mentioned, the park hopper tickets, which you won. How's that going? Wonderful. All right. That's $2,000 went to the CARES fund. So that helped out pretty well. So during the next board meeting, we're having a case of wine. You need to get that? No, I need to shut it off. Okay. During the next board, so we all good?
Three's
All right.
a charm.
All right, one more. During the next board raffle meeting, we're going to raffle off a case of wine. It'll be just a straight raffle for a case of wine for that event. During the next, coming up soon, what's going to be online is we're going to do a print your own label cases of wine. So we're going to have a raffle online. It'll be online, and that will be coming out soon, as soon as we get back. By the end of the month, we'll have that up and running. Also, by the end of the month, we're going to bring back the electric bikes. So we're getting a couple electric bikes that we're going to raffle off at next Expo. So that will carry on through the whole season. And we're going to give half the proceeds to CARES. So that's going to help the kids and help all of us in the industry who needs it, okay? So make sure you get those tickets. That'll be coming up. Those will be an online raffle with set dates to expire. So that'll be working out real fun. We use that in our Big Valley district, and it works out really great. So that's coming up. Look for the emails and the links that are coming out. Jackie will get those up and running. We'll have all the details on those. And just like to thank my committee, Travis, Mike McKenzie, Jackie Clark, and where's Andy Marino. Thank you, guys. I can't do this all by myself, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I don't think we have anything for the building committee, but I want to thank you for all your efforts in that. Thank you. So,
Would you like me to continue on that?
no.
No. Good.
And the advisory and nominations, Tom just wanted me to let you know that after this meeting, we have our elections. So please don't leave, stay around. We have our elections right after this. Thank you. Oh, and now I'd like to turn it over to Chaz Estrada, our affiliate representative.
Thank you, thank you. Can we, Sylvia, did you guys meet at West Coast? November 2nd through the 4th is the next West Coast Reardon Academy. Yay, awesome. PR committee, Blair? Wicked. Affiliate committee, oh, it's me. Just reading here. Super quick, I'll keep it short. We did meet, honestly, a really productive meeting today. I think probably some of the most productive affiliate meetings we've had to date. We did have a few PMPs kind of sit in on our meeting, and I think it was really helpful. It was super beneficial. We talked about perhaps restructuring Expo, maybe changing it to a different date to help promote attendance and engagement, maybe even removing the exhibit floor altogether, maybe getting speakers and affiliates in the same room for the entire day. I'm going to pass this off to the next speaker, Dave Watkins.
Good afternoon. Got, I guess, just one report. That would be Sylvia, Professional Women in Pest Management. Okay, great.
So, we had our first charity day of giving. Thank you to all the ladies that participated. We helped Laura's house. So, all of you guys. So, watch for the press release on that. We also took a tour of Disneyland.
read, seconded by, I think it was Jim Hawks, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, some discussion, and then the motion passed. Believe that that's it.
Great, thanks, Travis. All right, I want to remind you guys, don't leave the room. We're going to have general election right after I adjourn, and then afterwards, silent auction at 5 o'clock. Target silent auction in the down hallway. Downstairs. Okay, downstairs, directly in front of where you checked in this morning, the registration desk. Okay, right now, can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Vince?
Second.
Second? Ralph? All right, meeting is adjourned.